Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody doing today? Actually, a pretty good day yesterday. We missed out on a game or two, but let's review the college yesterday quickly, then we'll go through the pros today and the line. So, in college, sorry, let's wait for this ambulance to go by. Unbelievable. Just a second. Here in Portugal, they don't fuck around. There's like 7 or 8 of them. All right, so let's review yesterday's games. Not so much earlier. We'll do that when we do college. So Oklahoma, Virginia, we got over 62, 23-20. Not sure what happened there. Oklahoma has no defense. Neither does West Virginia. This should have been 2 overs. So this shows you can't always just go by they're an over team or an under team. And 2 overs play, most of the time it works. It didn't here. That's okay. This is a very small play because I don't trust West Virginia. Ohio State kills Indiana, lane 40. They win by 42. So, again, that's why it's hard to lay 40. They kill them 56-14, but add 40 to 14 is 54. So you needed the teaser. Well, you won 52. Now, here the over was good. It was only 58. Question was, how much were you going to get from Indiana? You got 14, made it a 70. So that was a good over. Ohio State in the 50s. Kentucky Vandy had the under there. Vandy actually wins 24-21. Kentucky, pretty good defense. Surprised Vandy won and got 24, but the over-under was 47. It comes in at 45. So that's the winner. Missouri, Tennessee, I have Tennessee over 56, only over 50, which I thought was low because Georgia played Missouri to a 46. You know Tennessee could score. I didn't think they'd get 66, but again, I knew they would score. Missouri puts up 24 because, again, Tennessee doesn't have a great defense. So they play a 90-point game in Tennessee. The over-under is 50. So the game was played over, but the game wasn't locked. And it's always easier after going, well, I probably should have locked that one. But the play on Tennessee is mostly over unless they play like a Georgia. And look at the difference. They played Georgia. The over-under was 66. They play Missouri, and the over-under is 56. It's 10 points cheaper. Georgia's got a much better defense than Missouri. So that's a hard understanding line, which shows you the problem with people. They only look at the last week. We look at the whole team. Missouri, an under team. They don't score a lot. Good defense. Tennessee, we know. Fantastic offense, decent defense, but not great. And they give up 24. So this over was rather easy because the number was 56. And I'm going to get into these other high overs that I avoided. And when you're doing what we do and investing in football, which let's call a spade what it is, it's a lot better than the stock market. The difference here is not playing the UCLA over 77. They ended up scoring 62. You didn't lose that one. So, again, that's why I'm trying to teach. You got to look at – first you look at the game and then you look at the number. If the number doesn't make sense, you just avoid the game. And that's what I did in UCLA, and that's what I did in the Wake Forest, North Carolina game. Because North Carolina is not that over team that played App State. They're a better defense than you think. They fixed it. Notre Dame, Navy in a surprise, 35-32. So Notre Dame is picking up their offense. They've got it figured out. New coach, took them a while. Navy, without their quarterback, still puts up 32. So we got to dig into Navy there. So maybe they're teaching the quarterbacks how to throw the ball. But for them to get 32 on Notre Dame is shocking. I didn't play the game. I liked it under 40. So the over-under is 40. So when I hear people say, well, Vegas knows the line, they hit it, this is where I go and I say, oh, really? They picked 40 and scored 67. Yeah, they were real close. So Vegas doesn't know the line. They're going by statistics, and they're going the whole year, so they don't adjust to things happening. That's where we get Vegas. SMU South Florida, the free pick comes in. I have my other free pick. My other free pick was damn Georgia under. All right. So South Florida, the free pick wins. I have them laying 17 down to 11. They were close at half, and then they came out in the third quarter and get them 41-23 to win by 18 and cover. And a teaser, it's 11, and South Florida scored late. Over-under in the game was 72, which I didn't understand because South Florida is not going to score for you. So you've got a strong offense with the weak defense playing a weak offense with the weak defense, and that's exactly what we thought would happen. We got a good line at 17. We can take it down to 11, and they win by 18. And that's exactly how you analyze it, but you couldn't play it over because you're not going to get enough in South Florida, and you didn't. You played a 64 over with 72, 66. That's why sometimes you play the team, sometimes you play the over-under. Depends on what you set up. Washington, Oregon, over under a 72. That was about the breaking point. I said, that's fine. I even said it probably will get there. It got to 71 with the field goal by Washington at the end to win it. But I didn't care. We had it 68. We're over 66 before then. And there's two things that happen, and I'm noticing in these games. Either they have a big first half and then they don't score in the second half, or they have a weak first half and they score a ton in the second half. SMU, has like 10 points in the first half, puts up 21 in the third quarter. Washington, Oregon is low scoring at the end of the half, and they put up a 35-point third quarter. Like, okay, now we'll start playing. And Washington's win didn't surprise me. They're a good offense. I knew it would be high scoring. You've got two strong quarterbacks. That's the difference. Penix against Bo Nix is a very strong quarterback, but in the South Florida SMU game, you got Mordecai who's strong, but South Florida doesn't have a strong quarterback. That's why you can't go over. You can go over in Washington, Oregon, and neither team really has a defense. So that's what I'm looking at. Strong quarterback against weak defense is going to light it up versus Tennessee, Georgia, strong quarterback against strong defense, and you see the results. So you see how the defense can dominate the quarterback, but when there's not really good defenses, then you get these high-scoring games, but you know it, and that's why we've been betting the over. The Pac-10 and the Big 12 are just loaded with good quarterbacks, score a lot, and fairly weak defenses, and we hit them all the time. And then if it gets too high the number, like in UCLA, Arizona, UCLA's laying 20. And the over-under was 77. I said, that's too high. I can't start. That's why you don't play 77s. So you keep it even down to 71. It's a loser. It ends up being 34-28 Arizona, which is why I didn't play UCLA. It's a 62, which is a high-scoring game. But not when you set the number at 77. So that's what you avoid. And not only that, Charbonnet, I don't play the running back for UCLA. And Arizona wins the game 34-28. Which is surprising enough, but Arizona can light it up. That's why you like the over in the game. Arizona's an over team with an over defense. UCLA is an over team. Kind of got them with an even defense, but against the big boy, against these passing teams, they're an over defense. And I'm surprised UCLA only got 28. Maybe that's because Charbonnet was out. Maybe they got down and he runs it in, and he wasn't there. So maybe that's what hurt him in the game. But 77 was too much. You can't lay the 20. And here's the problem with betting. You could have had Arizona in 25 points, and yet we're looking at UCLA and we're looking at the over. We're not really looking at Arizona in 25, yet they win. Getting 25 is a joke, but you don't look at it that way. And that's the problem. You look at the UCLAs, the Alabamas, but you don't necessarily look at the Arizonas and Arizona States, who are very potent. Oregon State, Oregon State does their thing. They are an under team, a strong defense. Them and Washington State are the strongest defenses in the Pac-10. Arizona's laying 13, and they blow out Cal. Cal just is decent defense, but not a good offense. I knew this would be low scoring. Over under 49. I go under 55, 38 to 10 to 48, which is about what you expect from Oregon State and Iowa State and Iowa and a lot of these teams that are really strong defensively. The best is Iowa State because they have a strong defense. So lock number one, Oregon, Washington over 72 down to 66. That's a winner. I think I had 6 locks yesterday. So now we go down. Georgia State, Lou Monroe. I play the game over. I got Georgia State, an over team. They score a lot, and we've been seeing it. Lou Monroe doesn't score that much, but I noticed they changed quarterbacks. They put up a 50 the last week. And they're starting to score. And the over-under was what made the bet, was 58. You go down to 52. And I go, Georgia State in a 52 game should be able to get there. Lou Monroe wins 31-28, getting 13.5. So they're not the Z team they were at the beginning. We had to adjust. And now they're more of a they're probably more of an over team now. They have a weak defense, but now they're scoring, and that's the difference. The Z team doesn't score, and the W team is they start to score. The O team, they put up 31, and that's what they are, but their stats still show them as W. This over under of 58 was a joke. They scored 59, but we got them 52 in a teaser. And so they win, they win in the fourth quarter. They get us the W. But again, with Georgia State, I would have expected more points. Again, that's the going for fourth down crap and the turnovers. But we get the win there. So that's where the Teaserking really makes the money, is those games. Because Georgia State scores a lot, and Lou Monroe is starting to score more. You see the line's only 58, and you go, shit, 52. I mean, that's nothing. That's 28-24, and that's exactly, we got 31-28. Western Kentucky, 45-10. They're starting to light it up. No bet there. Arkansas State. Now, here's where I save myself. I just don't like the way Arkansas State's playing. Normally, I would have taken them as an over team playing a Z team. Well, all of a sudden, UMass switches quarterbacks, and they lose 35-33. So an over-under of 49, game goes 68. Mass puts up 33 points, which they haven't done all year. I laid away because Arkansas State's been playing bad lately. And I just said, that's just, normally I'd be all over against the Z team. But here's where they start switching quarterbacks, and all of a sudden they find a guy who lighted up. Some other team did that, I'll get to. And you get a 68 in the game that should have been, the over-under was 49. Houston Temple, lock number 2. Played the game over 50, another W. Temple switches quarterbacks, puts up 58 on South Florida last week. Houston, we know they played that 120 game with SMU. So it's only a 50. That's ridiculous. Houston will score 40, and Temple with the new quarterback should get 14, and I got 54 as a W. So I go over the 56.5. The low over made the number because the line is based on Temple the whole year, where they weren't scoring, not Temple the last few weeks. So now Temple's an over team, but their over under is 56. Sort of like Miami and Utah last year when they were still in the 40s and they had Van Dyke putting up 4 touchdowns a game. So that's what we have. Houston puts up 43 by themselves. Temple comes up with 36. You get a 79. We locked it over 50. Now, that's how I like locks. It's probably over at halftime. But that was the key. So 2 locks, 2 winners. Clemson, Louisville, I don't claim. Okay. I was just looking, my internet's a little bit slow, but it's back. So Clemson, this is what I've been, both teams are 18s. Both teams have good defenses. I circled the 51, but I didn't play it because I don't trust the Clemson quarterback. Now, had they gone to their backup, who's much better, you would have gotten more points. Miami, Georgia Tech. Now, what the hell happened here? Georgia Tech's laying 1.5. Miami, Van Dyke's out. The offensive line's out. A couple other key guys out. And then now they rolled Georgia Tech 35-14. Georgia Tech's quarterback was out also. So you have garbage over under 44. Well, it goes to 49. So you could have played under 50 and won, but Miami lights it up, probably because they're a dog. Georgia Tech probably doesn't get favored much. They're a W team, especially with the quarterback out. So Miami lit them out without Van Dyke. So keep in mind he didn't play. Third lock, Iowa State, Oak State under 49. So it's under 55. Iowa State, strong defense, weak quarterback. They don't score. Oak State, Sanders is out. Now here, I'm getting really pissed off with the injuries. So Oak State wins 20-14, 34. We're on 55, easy lock. I added it into a second teaser. I don't think I locked the second one, but once I lock it, if I put it in another one, which I'm going to because I loved it, he's out, right? Well, who do you think plays the fourth quarter? Sanders. What does he do? He scores 2 touchdowns. They're down 14-6, and they win 20-14 because Sanders comes in. All right, if he's out, what is he doing in? So you could have made your bet on Iowa State, assuming Sanders is out. They're winning 14-6. Sanders comes in, and he's out. Well, you can't do that. I mean, then say he's doubtful or questionable. But again, they're fucking around with it. First time, they don't say anything, and he sits out against Kansas State. And then last week, he doesn't play at all. And now this week, he's out, but he plays the fourth quarter. It's just ridiculous. So, again, my internet's at the hotel on today, would be my guess. But I can, as long as it keeps me, the reconnecting, I assume I'm on. If it blows me off, then I should get a little message. So I apologize for that. Wisconsin, Iowa starting to light it up, 24-10 against Wisconsin. They had a pick 6. Quarterback still sucks. I mean, he's like 7 of 15 for 90 yards. It's pathetic. Over under with 36, 24-10, so it's 34. And it's a 34. So they do cover the under, even though it was 36. It's still doable. So that's why the Iowa, Wisconsin, this was a great under. This would have been a lock if it was in the 40s, right? And they score 34. But when it gets too low, like the 77, it could still win, but it's very highly unlikely. Here, 34, you could go under 42, which, it's such a low number. It's hard to bet that. It's almost too low. Like I say, sometimes those goes over. So it really could have been over 30, and you would have won that way too. So it's almost, when it goes too low, you get it under. Michigan, Nebraska, Michigan lane 30, wins 34-3. I'll tell you, all they got is that running back. Their quarterback sucks. I assume I'm still on because I see the clock going. So I'm still unstable connection. So I apologize for that. If I have to, I'll get off and come back on, but I'd rather stay on. Hopefully they connect. Michigan they ran the ball. The guy ran it 28 times for 160 yards. It's all they got. The quarterback was like 7 of 20 for, again, 90 yards. I mean, Ohio State's going to kill this team, but all they're doing is running and playing defense. So the over-under of 50, 34-3, 37. Michigan's really an under. They're really Army-Navy. Well, Army-Navy isn't Army-Navy. They're more Army. They want to run the ball and play defense. That's what they're doing. Very weak quarterback play, decent defense. Nebraska started, never heard of the quarterback. He sucked. They have no running. Nebraska's just pathetic right now. Just probably the Z team in the Big Ten. Minnesota Northwestern. It says, please wait while we try reconnecting. So I'm seeing the clock. I'm not sure if I'm losing you. So let me keep going and then I'll get back as long as I'm doing college. Um, Minnesota Northwestern, another good under team, another good under game. 31-3, Minnesota wins. Under 41, go to 47. So that's probably more likable than the Iowa game, right? So Iowa's 36, real tough game to go under 42. Where Minnesota, at least it's 41, you go under 47. And it's kind of ironic. I think I lost with Minnesota under a week or two ago, and then like the other 5-6 weeks they stay under. So there's always that one game that screws you up where the under team goes over, the over team goes under, and then immediately the next 5 weeks they go as they should. And it's usually turnovers and that do it, or these go for it on fourth downs. Okay, Penn State 30-0 over Maryland. Maryland's always or these go for it on fourth downs. Okay, Penn State 30-0 over Maryland. Maryland's always chokes in big games. Maryland over under here with 57. I thought it would be over. I thought Maryland would score. They didn't. I didn't play the game, but just the thought. Washington State, Arizona State. I have Washington State under. This under's 59 in Washington State. That's because everybody was looking at last week when they scored a lot. What they didn't understand is that Stanford fumbled the ball 5 times in Stanford territory, and Washington put up 35 points. That doesn't make Washington State a great offense. It just they got the turnovers. Well, this is a normal game, and they win 28-18. That's impressive, holding Arizona State down to 18, who put up 50 on Washington. So it just shows you the defensive teams can shut down the offense, as they did. Over under 59. I went under 65. They would play a 28-18 game. So that's what you expect. Alabama, who knows what they are? They win 30-24, laying 11. Over under 63, they get 54. Again, they don't go over. You think they're an over team. They don't get there. And they barely beat Ole Miss. So you'll be careful with them. So let's jump down. Army, Troy. Troy's a strong under team. Army, I don't know what they are. They played a lot of good offensive teams. So it ends up with a 46 going under. Troy with a really strong defense. They win 10-9. So where's that one? You need a good under 10-9 there. Florida wins 38-6. I don't know where that came from. You look at the quarterback, goes for 100 yards. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are throwing for like 20 of 25 for 110 yards. And, it's just crazy that you're getting such weak quarterback play. Okay, lock number 4. Yeah, so we hit the lock. Oregon over, Houston over, and Oak State, Iowa State under. So we're 3-0 on the first 3 locks. Then we come to the next 3 locks. Georgia, Mississippi State, we go under 60. We lock it because it's Mississippi State got shut out by Alabama. We're assuming the same shutout or similar, and it really was there. Georgia wins 49-15, gets a 60. We had 60. They scored with 2 minutes left, but the real problem, State runs it back for a touchdown. Just put the ball out of bounds, and we got a winner there. So that lock should have won. I'm not surprised Georgia scored 49, and really Mississippi State really only got 8 points or 9. They get the punt return, which again, how do you factor that in? But that again, at what point do you take Georgia minus 10, and what point do you take the under? Figuring the under is a safer play, but in this case, they scored with 2 minutes left. Georgia scored. So it's 42-15. There's no reason. Georgia should be running the clock out. So lock number 4 loses. Lock number 5 loses. Kansas State, Baylor. 31-3 Kansas State. I go over 53 down 6. I go over 47 with Kansas State Baylor. Baylor at home scores 3 points. Quarterback played. I don't know what happened here. A couple of bad turnovers and a couple of bad, let's go for it on fourth downs. But really, that would have just helped a little. That was just a couple of field goals. So I got the 31 from Kansas State, but where did Baylor? They didn't show. Kansas State's got a good defense, probably forced this one a little bit. And then lock number 6, an easy winner. We have Kansas, Texas Tech. Kansas always a great this year anyway, except for the Iowa State game where we took them. And here, Kansas 43-28. Texas Tech wins by 15, laying 3.5. But again, this is where we went over 62 to 56. You can see it's a 70-point game. So that's why we sometimes see the over, instead of taking Kansas as the dog, we know they'll be high scoring, and so you go over. And that's the logic of it. I didn't like Baylor +3, Kansas State 9. Yeah, they're playing real well right now, but so it was hard to pick the winner. That's why I went over. So the locks go 4 and 2. The Georgia lock probably forced Kansas State, probably forced there, and that leads me to what? So here's North Carolina, Wake Forest, over under 76. What are they doing? That was way too high. I think it went to 77 or 78. And North Carolina wins 36-34. They play a 70, but you lose at 77, 78. You push at 76. That's why you can't play it. This was the highest scoring game, but it only got to 70. North Carolina, live dog. I've had him before. Hartman, we know he's good, and you got a good back and forth here. You got to the 70 with the 36-34, but again, 76 is just too high. 72 was the breaking point with the UCLA. Was still 66, and we got a 70-point game. Here we get a 70-point game. You wouldn't even win. It's ridiculous. Team beats everybody. Great offense. Getting 13.5 obviously should have been a lock. TCU win 17-10. They were up 17-3. You never had to worry getting 13. You're up 30-3 in the fourth quarter with TCU. So that was a very easy one. So now here I had over circled and I had TCU, but since TCU is the dog, it made it the better play than the over, and the over doesn't get there. A 65, and they play a 27. So there you go. Over not there. And anyway, so that's basically what I wanted to talk. So 4 and 2 in the locks. Probably would have, lesson learned was TCU and 13 should have been a lock, not the Baylor Kansas State game, because Kansas State we know is a good team and we know they got a good defense. So it's really not good to play overs against them. But it was so low, all they needed was 47. You assume Baylor's going to get you 20, and that would have given you 51, which would have made it a W. So we don't get that. Again, I don't know. They're reconnecting me if you're seeing me or not. But the clock's still running, so I assume I'm on. All right, so let's get to the pros. First, we'll go through the line. I just looked at the line. Tampa 2.5, 44.5. Buffalo 6.5, 44.5. Now that line jumped down to 3.5, back to 6.5. So I assume Josh Allen's playing, but he's still got a hurt elbow. I assume it's the throwing elbow. But he's still questionable, but you assume he's playing. And this is my point about when you are a running quarterback and you don't slide, you're going to get hurt. First, I thought it'd be the knee. It's the elbow. You need him on the field. That's why you can't go and be a runner like that. You're the passer. Be the passer. All right, Detroit 3, 48.5. Or Chicago 3, 48.5 against Detroit. Tennessee 2.5, 39.5 against Denver. KC 9.5, 50.5 against Jacksonville. Miami 3.5, 49.5 against Cleveland. The Giants 5.5, 41.5 against Houston. New Orleans 1.5, 39.5 against Pitt. Oakland 4.5, 41.5 against Indy with the new coach. looks like Matt Ryan's playing. Looks like Taylor's playing. So I don't know. Maybe there was a problem with the old coach. Reminds me of one of these movies where the coach and the quarterback fight and get rid of the coach. So maybe that's what happened here. Maybe we got to keep Matt Ryan and get rid of the coach. Maybe there's a conflict where Matt Ryan was, I'm going to run my plays and not yours. The coach benched him. And anyway, so that's what looks like it happened. Jeff Saraday's nobody. He's not going to add any value as the coach. So I don't know what to do with this game. But again, Oakland 4.5. Dallas 4.5, 44.5 against Green Bay. Looks like both teams are pretty healthy. Micah Parsons is playing, Ezekiel Elliott's playing, and Green Bay's receivers are playing. So this should be an interesting game. Here's the game of the day. The Rams 2.5, 39.5. Stafford's doubtful with concussion. Kyler Murray's doubtful with a hamstring. You're going to have two backup quarterbacks out there. You're not going to get any. This is a perfect Army-Navy game. San Francisco 7.5, 45.5 against San Diego with Keenan Allen out and Williams out. Question is, how good are the backup receivers? Frisco's looks like everybody's playing. I think even Bosa might be. The San Diego Bosa won't, but the San Francisco Bosa is. And then Philly 10.5, 44 against Washington. It's a high number. Washington's playing much better with Heineke. I don't buy the 10.5. So if we go through, what do we like? So Seattle 9-2 is a road dog. This is a road game. It's a road favorite game for Tampa because it's in Germany. So keep in mind this game. Now it's 10:50 where I am in Portugal. This game starts at 2:00 Portugal time. So it's still, when you hear this, you can still bet it. I like Seattle as the dog in the game. Over under, probably under. It's just Tampa doesn't score. Decent defense. Woodfield's playing for Tampa, and Julio Jones is even going to join them. Metcalf and Lockett are playing for Seattle. So I like Seattle getting the 8.5, 9 in this game. Buffalo 6.5, 44.5. Mini's 21-4 is the favorite, and 21-4 if you play against them. Buffalo better at home than on the road. I think Mini is a good play here. Even if Josh Allen plays, I don't care. But I think Mini is the play here, getting 12.5, 44.5. Both teams strong defenses. Probably is an under at 50. The NFL seems lower scoring, but we'll see. But I think I like Mini as the dog here. Although Buffalo's strong, go look at the Green Bay game. Mini, a lot of talent. They should be able to stay within 12.5 of Buffalo. I don't think there's anybody Mini can't stay close to if they play their game. Cousins, he chokes a lot. So we'll see. It's an interesting game, but I like 12.5. It's a lot of numbers. Detroit, Chicago 3, 48.5. The way Chicago's been playing offensively, Fields throws for 50 yards, runs for 200 yards. It's a 1940 wing tee. Detroit has no defense. Their offense should be good against the weak Chicago defense. I look for an over in this game. 48 has 42.5. 24-20 wins for you. 23, 17, 20, 26-17, something like that wins for you. Detroit's good for their 20, and the Bears, apparently with Fields, is good for his 20. So this should easily get into the mid to upper 40s. And in the teaser world, it's 42. So we should definitely like the game over Tennessee and Denver. Looks like Tennessee's quarterback's going to play, so maybe they get a little more scoring in the game. Denver, maybe they get a little more scoring in the game. Denver, they're both under teams. Over under is 39 and a half, very low. So if we think it'll be higher, but definitely look at it as probably an under game with these strong under defenses running Henry a lot. Russell Wilson. I mean, so again, this is under 45 and a half. I like. Maybe a dog, Tennessee. I don't, or Denver. KC 9.5, 15.5 against Jacksonville. Again, which Jacksonville team shows up? They're 11-1 as a play against road dog, which means you take Kansas City here based on the trends. I don't know. I mean, every time you think a team like Kansas City is going to blow them out because they got the offense. Jacksonville has started to run Etney. Their defense pretty good. Their offense sucks. So you've got maybe this is under 56 and a half. I don't see where Jacksonville is going to score a lot. And again, so Casey can get up 30-0, they're going to just cruise it. So 56 and a half under, I think is a good play. KC minus 3.5, maybe is a good play. Again, Lawrence just sucks. Cleveland, Miami 3.5, 49.5. Cleveland 7-1 is a road dog. 7-1 play against is a road dog. 21-4 play against. Miami is 11-2 at home the last year and a half. Miami's a strong home team. Cleveland is a play against, so you could take Miami. Now you got the weird 3.5, so you get Miami plus 2.5. I don't love that, but I think they do it. I think I like the game over more. You just simply have explosive Miami and explosive Cleveland, and neither of them really have defenses. These conversely are over teams, we'll call them. So neither of them have that strong defense. So I look for Nick Chubb to get a few touchdowns against this defense. See, when you have the good running back, you score in the red zone, and that makes the game go over. When you don't, they can't. They either go for it on fourth down and leave the ball at the 5-yard line and totally screw the over players. Maybe they get lucky and get the touchdown, but normally they're not. So it ends up with an over 43.5, 24-20. It'll definitely get there. The Giants 5.5, 41 against Houston. Good luck on this one. Now the Giants are favored. Houston, I don't know. They're not that bad, but they are that bad. They're really, again, in the college, Georgia, Kansas State, and Kansas, and UCLA, and Utah. You know what you're getting here. You don't really have a clue. The Giants should win the game. They're probably the better team. They're an under team. Washington's W team, so the Giants are the better team. I don't know how you play the Giants even against Houston that you can trust the Giants to win. This is a league you can't trust the favorite in, and that's what you got to understand. So I don't know. I don't love the Giants here over under 41.5. Maybe it's an under 47.5, but it could just as easily go over. This is one of those. I would say I think the Giants win, but you can't really trust them. So I really don't have a feel on the game. Maybe you go under 47.5. I don't know. New Orleans 1.5 over Pitt 39.5. Well, we saw New Orleans again. They shut out Oakland 24-0, and then they get killed by Baltimore, where their offense doesn't show up and their defense doesn't show up. So which team do you have? Now they're at Pitt. Pitt is a strong home dog. So I almost like Pitt in 7.5, even with their bad quarterback play. New Orleans, which team shows up? Andy Dalton, and you think Kamara should handle it. Again, maybe you could take New Orleans in 4.5. That's a good number. If you just don't trust Pitt, over under, it's a low number. It's an under 45.5. Again, it's a very tough. Both teams have weak defenses, so maybe it's over 33.5. But I think New Orleans in 4.5, you're okay. Yeah. Oakland 4.5, 41.5 against Indy. I don't know. Indy Saturday, the new coach. But Matt Ryan and Taylor are probable. Is Matt Ryan gonna play? I don't know. I don't know who starts and who plays. You have the Raiders, and what are you going to say about them? How do you get shut out by New Orleans, a team with no defense? So what's Indy going to do with them? Indy with the new coach might be happy they don't have the old coach. So who knows what this team is? I can't bet Oakland to win. How do you trust Oakland after 24 to nothing to New Orleans? So I can't trust a 2-win team to win in the NFL now. So I don't know. Do you trust Indy in 10? No. Over, under, who knows? I mean, this is the basic problem in the NFL. The Giants, Houston, Indy, Oakland. You what I think a score will be. It's just ridiculous. So I'm just gonna probably I don't know. I guess you take Indy at 10.5 even. So I'm just gonna probably I don't know. I guess you take Indy at 10.5 even though the coach is out. If Ryan and Taylor, well, Taylor should play. If Ryan plays, I think Indy and Taylor, so they'll do well. Dallas 4.5, 44.5 against Green Bay, who absolutely sucks. Dallas probably the best 2 or 3 teams in the league. Strong defense. Micah Parsons, he'll be all over Rodgers. Plus 1.5 is immaterial. I don't have to lay a point. So even if it's even, Dallas wins this game probably pretty easily. All these weak teams. Not that the Giants and Jets are weak. They're obviously better than Green Bay and Tampa, but I just think Dallas's defense is too much. Prescott, I'd rather have Russ, but he's okay. Elliott's playing. I just think it's just too much defense. And Green Bay, now Green Bay's out to play today. All their receivers are probable, and we'll see what that means. But Aaron Rodgers, he just lost to freaking Detroit, though. And I think Green Bay plays their best game of the year, but I think Dallas is just too much for him. So I like Dallas plus the 1.5. It'd be better if Green Bay had beat Detroit, and then losing to Detroit, and now you get them. But they don't. They play better in Green Bay against Detroit than they do at Detroit. So that's not shocking. The way they lost is, but if you're not scoring on Detroit, and the funny part is, they didn't. I think they punted once in the game. They only got 9 points. So go figure that out. Wow, 3 interceptions in the red zone. But I like Dallas here. Arizona and the Rams. My initial thought was Arizona. Then my thought was, well, wait, Kyler Murray's got a hamstring. But wait, Stafford's got a concussion. He's doubtful. He'll probably play, but he's doubtful. So as long as so think about it, are the backups as good? I don't even know who's the backup is for Stafford. And then I don't know, Kyler Murray, he's probably some guy. He's probably decent, but Rams, strong defense. They'll probably run it with the backup a little bit more. Well, their coach is kind of one of these, so, we're going to throw it. But I think you go under in this game if Stafford and Murray are out, which, again, here I'm 6 hours, 7 hours ahead of you. So I'm Sunday morning at 11. You're still sleeping. So wait till noon and you find out. If they're both out, it's an under game. If they both play, then tease the dog. Take Arizona an 8.5. So you got time to hear the news on it. San Diego, San Francisco. Frisco 7.5, 45.5. Play against Frisco. I got 21 or play against San Diego 21-4. However, I do like San Diego. They're a very strong dog. And you get 13.5 with San Diego. Now, we know Keenan Allen's out. What else is new? Williams has been out. He's out for a while. So they don't have their 2-star receivers. But there's Eckler, there's the tight ends. So people overreact to that because the backup receivers gets his chance. You assume the coach has analyzed that the first 5 or 6 receivers are NFL receivers, right? So, yes, you've lost him, but now this guy's got his opportunity. So I'm not that concerned about Allen and Williams not playing as before. The Niners have been struggling. They're okay. Are they 7-point favorites in the game? Probably not. Are they 13-point favorites? I think San Diego can score. As long as the quarterback Herbert's playing, I'm happy. He's the key to it. So as long as he's playing, that message finally went away. So that's good. So as long as Keenan Allen is, as long as Herbert's playing, Diego has a chance to win. I got 13 points. It's just too many. In the last game, Philly-Washington, Philly 10.5, 44. Philly runs the ball with Hurts a lot, plays the defense. Washington has been playing better, playing a little bit better defense. I don't know. Philly minus 4.5, very small. I hate the number. I hate over threes, especially in the NFL. It's almost take the 16.5 with Heineke. I think Washington is better. I'm not really sold that Philadelphia is all that. I think they're a good team. Hurts has been running a lot. So, again, I don't like a 10.5 in the NFL. So I don't like 4.5. Maybe 16.5 is the play. But, play against Washington as a road dog is 22-4. And Philly is 7-0 as a home favorite. So the trend's on Philadelphia. So maybe you'll lay 4.5, but it should be a close game, interdivision and everything. So let's go with the free play. Let's go with the Chicago over as the free play. They should light it up with Detroit. Here's where you've got to analyze. So Fields is running, and you've got to see that. And I think I'm still on. Okay, so with Fields, he's just running the ball. He's not a good quarterback, so he's basically being the third running back, and they're scoring a lot. So you have to analyze and understand that, all right, the last few weeks, they're scoring. So you ignore the stats for the year, and you just focus on what's going on in the last few weeks. So who did they beat last week? Chicago lit up Miami 35-32. So this should be a similar game. Detroit with the good offense against weaker teams, not against the New Englands and the Dallas. Chicago with the weak defense. Detroit with the weak defense. They both can score against that. So that's what I look at. So I think that's your free play. Take the game over. I do have one lock going today. And then I don't have a lot of plays because it's just sometimes the correct play is not the play. So you're sitting there with playing poker. There's 3 spades on the board, and you hit a straight. And the other guy bets like he's got the flush. Is it worth calling with the straight to see if he's got you beat, or is it better to fold and say, look, he's probably got a flush. He couldn't bet a lot because he would think I have a flush, so he's not betting into me unless he has the flush. I got the straight. It's better to fold with my straight than to call and lose with 3 spades on board. It's almost like if I have a straight or a flush and there's on the game, you almost assume he's got a full house because he could be sitting there with 10-9 and there's 2 10s on the board and a 9. He's got the full house. He's betting like he's got the full house. So you're fucked if you call him, even though you've got the hand. And that's where you have to read the betting. Poker's about reading the betting and using logic on the bet. So a lot of times when these guys go all in, it's almost like they don't want you to call because if they got 4 kings, they're not going to go all in because they don't want you to fold. They want to get your money. So you have to understand that. Anyway, so sometimes what do you do with the Giants in Houston? Yeah, okay, the Giants should win the game. But we've seen New Orleans pit. Oakland, Indy. These are games that you're better off just watching because we can't figure out is it the Oakland team that lost 24-0 to Jacksonville or to New Orleans, or the one that lost to Jacksonville 27-20. Oh, those are on the road now. Home Oakland plays, and Indy's on the road. And Indy last week lost 26-3 to a good defense in New England. Well, Oakland doesn't have a good defense. So if we stuck with what we do in college, the New Orleans Pitt game would be over. The Cleveland Miami would be over, as we said. We do like it. Detroit would be over, which I gave you. The Atlanta Carolina game would have been over, and it was. My guy told me it was raining and windy, so I'm glad he's listening because he says, it's in the rain and wind is when the games go under because it's very hard to throw in a windy thing. So, he asked me, I like the under. What do you? And I said, yeah, if it's raining and windy, I mean, I'm here. I don't know, but it's doing in Carolina. But if it's as you say, then yes, go under. And he won under because it was 40, over under 41.5. So again, that should have been an over game. And if you played it over 35, you won because it still went over 35. So that's what you look at. So you're trying, it's normally the quarterbacks make the overs or unders. But in this case, like Green Bay and Dallas, Prescott against Rodgers, the way Green Bay's been playing, 9 points on the Lions, it's not Rodgers' fault. See, that's what people go, well, it's Rodgers' fault. It's not Rodgers. He has no line and he has no receivers, and they're playing more today. But he's going to face Micah Parsons, who's going to be a nightmare on him, and the receivers just aren't very good. So Arizona, LO. In the NFL, I don't care that the receiver's out unless it's Jerry Rice. Doesn't mean as much as in college. So that's what we have today. The play teams in a teaser the last couple of years: Minnesota, Atlanta, Philly, Dallas, Houston, and Seattle. Those are the teams in a teaser. Doesn't matter for home or road or favorite or dog. They're about 80% or higher. That's all I want to put in here. So Atlanta in the teaser is 80, and even in the teaser they lost there. Philly, you got Dallas, you got Houston over the Giants, Seattle over Tampa, and Atlanta and Minnesota against Buffalo. So you notice Buffalo's not on the list, and that's what you look at. Then you look at the play against, and it's San Diego, Denver, Indy, Washington, Atlanta, New Orleans, the Rams, Green Bay, and Minnesota. So you can see Green Bay's on against, the Dallas is on the 4. There you go. That's what you're looking for. So overall in the teaser, if they played 10 times, Dallas would win probably 9 of them. And that's where you get into, that's why you've got to keep within your bankroll because you don't know what you're doing. Is there going to be a lot of turnovers? Is there going to be injuries? There'll be injuries. That's why it's hard to just say, oh, we love Kansas over. Let's just put every dime we got on Kansas over. Now it wins, but you've got to be careful. And then you got the Georgia under, and it doesn't stay under. Now the whole year it stayed under. The Tennessee game stayed under. So I would Mississippi State go over when they got shut out by Alabama. So you're expecting the shutout, which it would have been if they don't run the punt back. They're only going to score 6 points, and our under is a winner because it was still under 60. So in a Georgia game, that's a very low. That's a very high number in a Georgia game going under 60. Anyway, so that's what it is. I'm not seeing any comments, but I know it's early in the morning for you guys. So keep that in mind. 4 or 5 or 6 game teasers today. The pros they're really, really difficult. There's no TCU. There's no Georgia. It's almost by design. It's really strange. There's just Tampa, Seattle, tease the dog. Dallas, Green Bay, Dallas, San Diego, tease the dog. I mean, there's not. Can you trust Oakland to beat Indy? Can you trust New Orleans to beat Pitt? Can you trust the Giants? And that's why I tell you to pick the game first. Look at the game. Who are the teams? What's your spread? Because now you get polluted. New Orleans -1.5 at Pitt. It's different. But if you would have picked the game and not let the spread influence you, who's going to win? You probably think, okay, New Orleans playing at Pitt. Who's going to win? You almost think Pitt's going to win. Pitt is good at home. Is better at home. New Orleans, Baltimore played Monday night. New Orleans isn't that good. They're okay, but we don't know what team it is. The one that beat Oakland, the one lost to Baltimore. Does Pitt have a running quarterback? No. So you can't really do anything with it. But that's what you're looking at is, hey, Teddy, went to the bathroom and I saw the Raider playoff odds. Well, do they have? Are they even on? Can they even make the playoffs? I think is the question. So that's what you gotta look at. But it can't be good because they're not better than Kansas City or San Diego. I'm not sure they're better than Denver. So you got a lot of teams ahead of them. But that's what I'm looking at. So it's very hard to get the teams. So again, the free play will give Chicago, Detroit over. The way Fields is scoring, I think that's an over. Let's just say that. Cleveland, Miami's probably the other over. I don't know. I don't mind him. He's better than Winston, so I don't mind that they're using him. We'll have to see, but it's very hard. Is Buffalo going to beat Minnesota today? I have no idea. You can't really say that. I mean, they're probably the better team because they're at Buffalo. If the game was at Mini and you gave me Mini in 7, that'd be a lock. I'd take Mini in 13 at home. Buffalo isn't the same team on the road, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, in our gold segment, something big's about to happen in there. I think by the end of the year, I don't think they want to screw with everybody's Thanksgiving or Christmas, but I think it's coming very, very soon. Supplies are very, very tight and limited. Central banks are buying as much gold as they can. And why are they doing it now? Why didn't they do it 10 years ago? I don't know. And anybody that says the U.S. has gold in Fort Knox is just a liar. You have no idea because they don't let anybody in. And the only reason you wouldn't let anybody in is you don't have any. So keep that in mind. Teddy, Bengals bye week, then new NFL toys and Bengals white helmets. There you go. Kansas City has silver. Yeah, well, that'll be interesting to see those colors. We'll have to see. So just be careful. Keep in mind, central banks are owned by Rothschilds, J.P. Morgan. They're not government run, and you got to be careful with that. So why would they buy it? Well, a lot of it is their derivatives are screwed. They basically have that. No more silver than Fort Knox. Well, they don't have silver at Fort Knox. They have gold, and there isn't any gold there either. But they just make it sound like they have. Buy whatever you can, gold and silver now. I guess is in the next month. It'll be. I was reading today. There's a black swan event between Russia and China, and that's going to be. They're going to announce how much gold they have. I was reading China's like $50 trillion in debt. So they're collapsed. Japan's collapsed. The UK's collapsed. Germany. And they're all running to the dollar, and the dollar is no stronger anyway. So with that in mind, you've got to be careful as far as what to do. But you got to get out of the dollars because they're going to collapse. And the only safe haven is gold and silver, even though they don't tell you that because they don't want you in it. They want to buy all the gold and silver, and if you're buying it, they can't buy it. And that's the real reason. And then they're keeping the price down so they can buy it. So again, it's like buying a $100 item for $2. And we'll keep the price down. You buy, and buy, and then the price jumps up. So all I know is the price is about to really go through the roof. Interest rates. Uh, what I'm reading is the biggest difference is the interest rates were held at zero for so long. People were borrowing, not worrying about paying back. Now interest rates are on the way up, and now you're really screwed because now you have to pay more on your debt, and it's collapsing a lot of countries and everything. So just be very careful. Make hurt hands. Oh, okay. I don't do that, but it's just you've got to be very careful now. So it's Russia and China are sitting on all this gold, and India, and they need the price to go up. So the price is going to go up. So they'll just reset it. You won't see it like a stock where one day it's at 20, the next day it's at 100. It's just going to close it. So gold's what, 1700, 1750. I saw it jump like $40. So gold's at 1750, and then the next day it's going to open. It'll be at 25,000. I mean, that's basically what's going to happen. It's just going to reset. And keep in mind, these midterm elections are all meaningless. The banks run the politicians. So it doesn't matter who wins, Democrat or Republican. It's all run by J.P. Morgan and all that. So the banks are run the government. So it doesn't matter who gets in. We're all fucked anyway. So you must understand it doesn't if the Republicans take the House or the Senate or whatever. But notice how mysteriously the Democrats are taking the Senate or whatever, or when again, how many votes do we need? Oh, we need another 10,000. Okay, up 10,001 just came in. It's still phony. It's still you can't trust it. It's still ridiculous, and you can't get worked up over it. Just realize that the banks are running the country, and we're all fucked because they're printing the money so they can make more. So just get into gold and silver. It's the only thing you can do. 55,000 at least. Well, what's going to happen? You're an unregistered vet. There's no point in voting because whoever you vote for. But what'll happen to gold and silver? 55,000, but then it'll be more, and then it won't be in dollars, so it won't have a value. It'll be what it can buy. So it'll buy $1 million house or Ferrari with an ounce of gold. That's what eventually will happen to it. I was sitting with my girlfriend at dinner and talking about, she says, what am I going to do? Buy dinner with an ounce of gold? How am I going to get change? I said, well, there'll always be currency because there has to be currency. It's a medium of exchange. It's you trade, let's say you had a Ferrari, or let's say you had a Rolex. Well, obviously, you're not going to take the Ferrari to dinner and say, give me change. You're going to sell it for whatever paper is used as the medium of exchange. And then you'll just take a little piece of that and buy dinner with it. And there'll be a new dollar that'll come out. So even though they're ruining this one, that's going to happen. Most people pay zero what? Bill one person 100%. I'm not following you, Teddy. Most people pay zero taxes. Is that what you're saying? That's not true. I mean, you get it taken out of your paycheck automatically. Legally, they have to. So that's not true. But with the gold, so that's what you do is you'll take an ounce, get whatever the currency is, which is the medium of exchange, which is how we go to the grocery store and we go to the restaurant. We buy clothes, whatever we're doing, we take the currency. So you're going to trade the gold for whatever the new currency is, and then you're going to take that and you're going to you'll sell the gold for as much currency, and then you just divvy up the currency. But it'll be new currency because this currency's on its way out. Yeah, I've been breaking up the whole time. It says, please wait while we try reconnecting you. I've had that message the whole time. So anyway, well, I think I've covered it. Did you get my football part of this? Were you able to see it? Let me review it and see how broke it is. If I have to reduce a certain part, I will. Anyway, yeah, I just got a bad internet connection. There's nothing I can do. I'm at a hotel. So anyway, www.teaserking.com. And good luck today. Again, the free pick will be the Bears Detroit over. 2 locks, going 1 lock play with 2 locks, and 4 and 2 on our locks yesterday. Losing, Baylor didn't show up, and then Georgia giving up a punt return. But otherwise, we did good. Maybe I should have locked TCU versus Baylor, but whatever. I still played them both in 2 teasers. So anyway, have a good day. That's the LA Arizona injuries. It looks like Stafford's out and Murray's out. If they're out, it's an under. That'll be a late game. And then looks like Buffalo, looks like Allen's questionable with his elbow, but the line went back to 6.5. So I assume he's playing. Otherwise, I don't see any big injuries. Dallas is everybody's playing. Green Bay's everybody's playing. So that should be a good game. And then San Diego receivers are up, but I still like him as a big dog. All right, www.teaserking.com. Thank you. And I don't know when I'll do a show. I'll be home Wednesday, so I'll probably just do the show Thursday to go through college, which I kind of did, and the pros, and then get next week's going. All right, everybody, have a great day. www.teaserking.com, and feel free to email me and go from there. Okay, thanks very much.